Hey, greetings everyone. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Bonham's playing on We're Gonna Groove, and I thought it's about time I do a little instructional video. Had a couple requests for a couple things, so this is one of them. I wanted to talk about this tune because there's a similarity to Moby Dick in the way this beat is played, in the basic construction of the beat. So I'm going to play a little bit of it and then talk about what's happening. Okay, so the basic component of the beat is the ride cymbal is being played primarily on the bell, although he does ride, kind of crash ride the cymbal. The hi-hat is usually going on all four beats, and the bass drum is playing sort of a funky syncopated pattern, which is pretty self-evident, but the similarity to Moby Dick that's very apparent is all these things combined. It's a very similar kind of beat with the hi-hat going on all fours, the bell of the cymbal, and then the syncopated broken up funk beat. So if we break it down into its individual components, hi-hat is doing this. Ride cymbal is also playing the same thing basically as the left foot. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, is integrating the bass drum and snare groove, which basically centers around this kind of feeling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, with Bonzo's typical way of playing a beat like this, he's putting a lot of grace notes, a lot of ghosting on the snare drum in between the accents. Now the accents are all rim-shotted for the most part, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening that's more subtle in the left hand. So I'm going to try to play this a lot slower and see if you can pick up on where these accents are. You've got this kind of thing happening. Now, that kind of thing you often hear coming from a drummer like Clyde Stubblefield with James Brown. You hear a lot of this kind of subtle left-hand snare drum work happening in between the backbeats on many of Clyde Stubblefield's classic grooves. Like times the snare drum is playing on the anticipated beats, on the ands. Right there, when he plays that figure along with the guitar riff, sometimes you can hear very subtly the bass drum is on the upbeats against the hi-hat. Again, this is what Terry calls the Bonham engine, this. One thing to note is that it isn't always consistently the same volume. There's a lot of subtlety in the way Bonzo phrases from moment to moment and from section to section. So I think that sometimes you can actually hear him doing it, sometimes he's not necessarily doing it, but it's just something to keep in mind to give that particular beat or phrase the right kind of feel, if that's what you're going after. So again, I'm going to play this beat a little more slowly and just be mindful to all the different limbs and how they work together to create this great groove. So right there now, moving to that phrase, that particular phrase, the guitar lick that moves up and down, boom, 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 boom. Bonham is always following Page and Jones and the rhythm of the riff. He rarely just plays a straight beat through the riff like maybe Charlie Watts would or something. We all pretty much know that by now. So the question is, what is he doing? How is he doing it? Okay, well, he's usually doesn't keep, he very rarely keeps his left hand static while his right hand is doing something else. In this case, playing the crashes on the accents of the phrase. Those crashes, when he makes them, he's filling up the space with left hand strokes that are softly played like this. Okay, so you've got this kind of thing happening. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he often does that. As a matter of fact, most of the time there's something happening in between the figures that he plays, the crashes. So moving along, he plays a series of fills in between those phrases, usually alternating with that's the sweep, as some people call it. He also often plays some fast triplets around the drums, which is a little bit more challenging, and he's usually keeping the hi-hat going on all 4 beats while he does that. I'll play a couple examples of different fills that he plays in that section. Okay, so right there, the first one is basically, so to break that down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are triplets. Oftentimes he'll play a flam type accent before playing an 8th note or a 16th note fill, like this. So when you put that in the context of that particular song, you have fills that sound like this. Okay, so I hope that's helpful in breaking down what Bonzo was playing on We're Gonna Groove.